faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally Talks Books. Today we're exploring the book How to Become Smarter. If you're a college student needing to start writing a paper, how do you begin? Uh, if you're a corporate employee and your boss suddenly assigns you a brand new project, how do you get started? Or if you're a researcher, how do you design your next experiment? In learning and work, we often face situations like starting new projects or encountering new problems where we need to come up with fresh ideas or solutions. If you're always racking your brains and feeling frustrated, then today's book might offer some inspiration. The author, Brian Grisham, is a UK-based senior mentor in learning methods and thinking styles. His books, like How to Write a Good Paper and Thinking Techniques Used by Professors, are popular with students and professionals. In single quotation marks, How to Become Smarter. In this book, Grisham aims to teach us a new thinking model called agile thinking, an efficient and creative approach that helps us better tackle everyday challenges. The author first explains what agile thinking means and why it's needed, then breaks it down into 3 steps, using real cases to detail each one. The whole book is like a carefully designed textbook, helping readers gradually master agile thinking. Next, our interpretation will follow this same path. Before diving into agile thinking, let's quickly chat about why we need it. What are the traditional ways of thinking? What are their shortcomings? The traditional thinking, the author describes, can be summed up with traits like always making quick judgments. That might sound like a good skill at first glance, but actually, this kind of shallow analysis easily leads to stereotypes. Plus, people often rely too much on existing solutions, even for new problems, hoping old methods will work. As the saying goes, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Also, traditional thinking leans more toward qualitative descriptions than quantitative planning for problems. The author argues that in traditional thinking methods, we're limited by 2 things: intuition and uncertainty. First, intuition. In daily life, many decisions we make actually rely on intuition. The essence of intuition is a quick judgment made by the brain based on information. In ancient times, this quick thinking helped our ancestors improve their survival abilities. For example, when a primitive person approaches a patch of grass and notices unnatural movement, they can immediately judge that a wild animal might be hiding there and quickly move away. I find a wallet. This intuitive thinking pattern has continued into the present day. In the 21st century, the way our brains operate isn't much different from our ancestors. Undeniably, intuition is still very important in our lives. For instance, while driving, you might unconsciously slow down or change lanes to avoid potential dangers. Or some emergency doctors can quickly diagnose a patient just by looking at them. When you have a lot of experience in a specific area, intuitive thinking is like a brain shortcut, helping us save time and effort to take effective actions.
However, when dealing with complex problems, intuition often backfires. If you don't believe it, listen to this test question.
The Earth's diameter is nearly 13,000 kilometers. Imagine a rope that's exactly long enough to wrap around the equator once. Then, we add 100 meters to this rope and wrap it around the Earth's equator again, evenly spaced. How far is this rope from the Earth's surface now? Similarly, wrap a rope around the sun in the same way and also extend it by 100 meters. So, how far would this rope be from the sun? Intuition might tell us that adding the same 100 meters, the rope would be much farther from the Earth's surface than from the sun. But what is the correct answer? So, actually, the distance is the same for both. We can calculate it. The circumference of a circle is twice pi times the radius, so the increase in circumference is the same. Therefore, the increase in radius is also the same. The distance from the rope to the planet's surface has nothing to do with the planet's radius. Whether on Earth or the sun, the extended rope is about 16 meters from the surface. Besides the unreliability of intuition, Another challenge to traditional thinking comes from the uncertainty faced by modern people. In recent years, global events like financial crises and COVID-19 have constantly impacted human society. We've also become very familiar with the concept of black swans, events that are hard to predict but have huge impacts. Once they occur, they overturn our original way of life. Besides these major events affecting the whole world, small black swans constantly emerge in daily life. We may encounter various new situations every day. At such times, relying solely on habitual methods makes coping extremely difficult. This requires us to comprehensively analyze new problems and quickly propose solutions. Traditional thinking is limited by intuition while facing uncertainty challenges. Therefore, we need a better thinking system to overcome difficulties. This is agile thinking proposed in the book. So, what is agile thinking? Per the author's definition, agile thinking is a counterintuitive approach that quickly generates innovative solutions for complex, uncertain problems. Keywords being counterintuitive and innovative. How do we practice it? The author presents 3 steps: conceptual thinking, innovative thinking, and decision making. Next, let's explore this thinking model with a concrete example. The first step of agile thinking is called conceptual. What is conceptual thinking? And the thinking part, simply put, it's creating concepts. Let's explain conceptual thinking application specifically. First, creating concepts. Actually, we create concepts constantly in daily life. For example, consider 2 categories. First, mutton, beef, chicken. Second, bananas, apples, oranges. If asked to classify them, clearly the first group is meat, the second is fruit. If merging both categories, all 6 terms fall under the concept of food. Of course, you could categorize first as animals, second as plants, all belonging to living organisms. In short, this shows concept creation distills the essence of things. Concept creation offers many benefits. At the basic level, concepts function like library classification systems, organizing information under specific categories for efficient retrieval. More importantly, conceptual thinking detaches problems from concrete contexts, making subsequent thinking more efficient. Now, you might be asking, creating concepts is useful, but how do we actually apply them? There are many techniques to apply concepts, like transforming concepts to provide multiple perspectives on problems. Here's a classic physics problem. If given a barometer, how would you measure the height of a skyscraper? The traditional solution is to measure air pressure at ground level, then at the top, and use the difference to calculate height with a formula. Here, the barometer belongs to the concept of measurement tools. In 1905, a candidate named Niels Bohr encountered this question on his University of Copenhagen entrance exam. This future Nobel laureate offered unconventional answers: drop the barometer from the roof and time its fall to calculate height, or tie it to a rope, lower it from the roof to measure the rope length, or even gift it to the building manager to ask the height directly. To Bohr, the barometer belonged to the concept of problem-solving tools, freeing him from rigid thinking to maximize its potential. Another way to apply concepts is combining different ones to create problem-solving frameworks. Let's take a concrete example about time management from American management expert Stephen Covey. In modern life, we all want to organize our schedules effectively, yet daily tasks overwhelm us. Contacting clients, meeting deadlines, attending meetings at work, outside work, exercising, watching movies, family time, plus scrolling social media or binge watching shows. How should we plan all these activities? We can categorize these using 2 conceptual dimensions. Now, one dimension is urgency. Tasks with clear deadlines are urgent, others aren't. The other is importance. Tasks with major life impact are important, others aren't. By combining these concepts, we create more refined categories for planning. For example, urgent and important matters include handling critical business emergencies or undergoing surgery to remove a small tumor. Non-urgent but important activities could be exercising or studying, things that improve long-term quality of life. An unexpected phone call or routine department meeting would fall under urgent but unimportant. As for scrolling social media or binge watching shows, those are neither urgent nor important. With this categorization, scheduling priorities become clear. Obviously, our first priority should be urgent and important tasks,
because these could be potential crises.
then we should focus on non-urgent but important activities, as investing effort here gradually reduces urgent and important tasks. Regular exercise prevents health crises, while professional training reduces work emergencies. By using these recombined concepts, we can clearly classify complex schedules and better manage our situation. Creating concepts helps us recognize the essence of things. Transforming concepts provides multiple perspectives on problems. Combining different concepts creates analytical frameworks for complex issues. These conceptual methods lay the foundation for innovative thinking. Step 2. Simply put, innovative thinking means brainstorming creative solutions when problems arise. The book details several innovative thinking methods. This discussion focuses on two: the analogy method and structured questioning. Both are practical, especially for complex problems. Mastering them yields efficient results. The first recommended method is analogical thinking. Simply put, when you know the solution to problem A, apply it to analogous problem B. If they share logical structures, deduce B's solution from A's. Analogies break conventional thinking and reveal new approaches. This might be confusing, so let's use an example. This example comes from Charles Darwin, father of evolution. Early in his career, Darwin believed most species were stable, with variations being exceptions. However, during his voyage observing diverse species, he realized this might be wrong. If species stability were normal, why so many variations worldwide? And areas with fiercer environmental competition had more variations. How to explain this? This puzzled Darwin until he found an answer in economics. In Darwin's time, economists had observed division of labor. Britain's intense market competition spawned various specialized artisans coexisting in one market. They didn't compete directly, but cooperated to drive collective prosperity. Darwin learned this economic concept and drew an analogy between the British market and natural environments. This helped him understand, in a given habitat, diverse variations, each specialized for specific resources, allow more life to be sustained. Thus, while other naturalists studied fossils, Darwin deduced evolution through analogy. When using analogies, ensure comparisons share similar causal relationships. Darwin's ecosystem market analogy worked because both featured intense competition and diversification. Unlike weaker analogies, solutions from flawed analogies deserve skepticism, like one in the book. After the 2008 financial crisis, with banks collapsing, the U.S. government planned taxpayer-funded bailouts. Unsurprisingly, many opposed this. To persuade the public, then Fed Chair Ben Bernanke used an analogy in a televised speech. He said, "If your irresponsible neighbor smokes in bed and sets the house on fire, what should you do? Obviously, you should help put out the fire first." Bernanke compared the banking crisis to a burning neighbor, suggesting people should help banks survive to prevent wider disaster. However, not everyone bought Bernanke's argument. Critics pointed out this was a flawed analogy. If banks were houses, they'd be castles on hilltops. Even if such castles burned, ordinary villagers below wouldn't be affected. We'll skip debating financial policies. Bernanke's crisis-fire and bank-neighbor analogies lacked solid logical foundations. Thus, solutions from such analogies face skepticism and may fail. Beyond analogies, another rapid idea strategy is structured questioning. Specifically, when handling messy situations, we often panic without knowing where to start. Structured questioning means building your own question library. When complex issues arise, deploy this library to quickly find solutions. You might know this game. A friend thinks of any word, celebrity, place, idiom. Then you ask yes or no questions. Usually, within 20 questions, you guess the word accurately. Simple math shows, though answers are binary, 20 questions yield over 1 million possibilities. Thus, with proper questioning, you can pinpoint solutions from millions in minutes. In real life, every profession has question lists, like police detectives. When witnesses recall suspects, descriptions are often vague. Statements like big eyes, flat nose frustrate sketch artists and cause errors. Therefore, police have a system dividing faces into 10 parts, from hairline, eyes, nose, down to chin, each with 10 options. This totals 100 distinct feature options. Combined, these can generate 10 billion unique faces.
With this system, witnesses quickly find suspect matches. After all, 10 billion possibilities exist.
While structured questioning doesn't generate wild ideas, its value lies in creating a thinking framework that rapidly explores options, peeling layers like an onion to reveal core solutions. So, how do we apply this structured thinking? Suppose you're a commentator writing about a criminal case. Use these questions to develop your angle. First, who are the victim and perpetrator? What's their relationship? Why did the perpetrator act?
Was it anger or resentment?
Why the anger? What caused the resentment? Can this connect to current societal issues? And so on. By persistently questioning, you uncover root causes and identify elements that move readers or warn society. Now that we've mastered analogies and structured questioning, innovative thinking reveals multiple solutions. With this foundation, we enter agile thinking's final phase, evaluating options and deciding. Decision-making challenges everyone. Some struggle even with lunch choices, let alone critical decisions like college applications. Which company to join after graduation? Who to marry? These choices profoundly impact life satisfaction. To select optimally, the author recommends quantitative assessment. Per the author, only quantification overcomes intuition for truly sound decisions. Maternity hospital staff know that if a newborn can't breathe, within minutes after birth, their brain can suffer severe damage, even life-threatening. Initially, there was no standard method for assessing infant breathing. Doctors or nurses relied on accumulated expertise to judge health status during delivery. For example, some checked heart rate, others relied on skin color or muscle tone, but each baby's physiology differed, leading to frequent misdiagnoses. Moreover, when discovering asphyxia, sometimes simple airway clearing sufficed, while others required intubation and oxygen to relieve symptoms. Clearly, more intensive resuscitation carried greater health risks, yet selecting appropriate methods remained controversial and unstandardized. Until 1953, when Virginia Aitgar, an anesthesiologist at Columbia University Medical College, proposed a simple quantification method with 5 variables: skin color, heart rate, respiration, reflex response, and muscle tone. Each metric scored 0, 1, or 2. Delivering doctors could rapidly evaluate newborns using these 5 indicators. Total scores: 10 equals perfect, 8 plus equals normal, 4 minus 7 equals mild asphyxia, requiring assistance or medication. Lower scores indicated severe asphyxia needing immediate resuscitation.
This simple yet efficient standard helped doctors quickly assess health and choose appropriate interventions.
Soon adopted worldwide, this scoring system saved countless lives. This case shows how identifying key variables and simple scoring can outperform professional intuition. So, which variables should we select for analysis? The author offers guidelines. First, choose variables that best reflect the problem's essence. Like when buying a home, square footage, location, and price are non-negotiable metrics. Second, variables should be mutually independent. In the newborn example, both heart rate and muscle tone reflected health status, but heart rate and muscle tone don't affect each other. Also, don't pick too many variables. 5 or 6 max is plenty. Overly long lists cause confusion. When evaluating decisions, we must also consider risks. Our world is full of complexity and randomness. To analyze potential risks, the author suggests using probability theory to quantify them. The simplest approach is calculating expected value directly. Suppose you buy a fridge with a 1-year warranty. If it breaks post-warranty, you'll pay $200 for repairs. Then you consider spending another $20 to extend the warranty by a year. If breakdown probability is 5%, multiplying repair cost by risk gives $10 expected value. Since warranty extension costs $20, it's not cost-effective. For events with clear risk probabilities, evaluation is straightforward. But real-world situations are far more complex. Our risk perception can be skewed. For example, news often reports drugs reducing death risk by 20%. What does this 20% actually mean?
Most imagine the drug saving 200 out of 1,000 patients.
Actually, it's not that. The reality might be, without the drug, 50 out of 1,000 patients died after 5 years. With the drug, 40 died, 10 fewer. That's a 20% relative reduction from 50. But absolutely, 10 fewer deaths per 1,000 is just a 1% reduction. Both statements are technically correct.
When assessing reality, we mustn't be fooled by relative change wording.
Another pitfall is conditional probability. Conditional probability analyzes questions like, if A happens, what's B's likelihood?
But real-life scenarios often trick us. We struggle to recognize them immediately.
For instance, if a patient has cancer, test positivity probability is 90%, but doctors might phrase this problematically. They might say, this patient's test came back positive, so the probability of him having the disease is 90%. But upon careful thought, you'll realize this is talking about two completely different things. Or let's take another simple example. If Xiaoming has a dog, it implies he has a pet, but the reverse isn't true. Yao Ming having a pet doesn't imply he has a dog. Clearly, in these examples, the two propositions cannot be mutually deduced.
In summary, when applying conditional probability, never confuse the premise with the outcome.
All right, to summarize this part, in step 3 of agile thinking, to make sound decisions, we must use quantitative methods to systematically score and compare options, while also calculating risk probabilities to prepare for potential difficulties. With that, we've finished explaining the agile thinking framework. Let's review the key points. Agile thinking helps us combat cognitive biases from intuition and tackle various challenges from uncertainty. Agile thinking has 3 steps. First, applying conceptual thinking to peel back layers and get to the essence of problems. Then, through innovative thinking methods like analogy and structured questioning, we quickly find multiple solutions. And in the decision-making phase, we quantitatively analyze benefits and risks to make optimal choices. The author believes that with continuous practice of agile thinking, we can overcome limitations and face modern life's challenges more confidently and calmly. All right, how to become smarter.
That wraps up our interpretation of this book. Listeners' notes are below the audio. See you next time.